Your Tigers have fallen for the very first time this season. This time in Cameron Indoor, the Tigers fall to the Duke Blue Devils 78-84, bringing their record to 7-1 on the year. We're going to talk about it and react to it. We're going to talk about the score, the stats, and the storylines all coming up right now. War Eagle, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of E2C Network Live, where we talk about the Auburn experience. The Auburn experience to us is all about Auburn sports, Auburn culture, Auburn family stuff. And if you need me to put a finer point on it for you, if it's orange and blue, it's what we do. So we thank you so much for joining us in what we do today. What we've got going on for you in this reaction stream, whether you're watching live or on the replay, we are talking about a reaction show for you. Auburn falls to Duke on the road in Cameron Indoor for the very first time, getting to play there. Such an incredible environment, such an incredible basketball culture, program, history, all that stuff. It's an honor. It's a privilege to get to go there, to our team get to go there and compete against them and give them everything that they could stand and then some tonight. The Tigers do put up a bit of a fight against Duke, but Duke is able to prevail 84-78. We have a lot to talk about. Certainly, we want to get into what you want to discuss. Your comments, your questions are always paramount to what we utilize here during the stream. But certainly, we do want to talk about the score a little bit, the stats, and the storylines from the game. Before we get into all those different things, I'd love for you to start the stream off with us. Especially if you're watching live, you can do this on the replay too. Smash that like button. Let us know that you're here. You can let us know that you're here by posting in the chat where you're watching from. It's a good way to kind of get you used to typing things and ready to interact and join in on a reaction stream with us. So those are all the things that you can do. And of course, always subscribe, follow, all that good stuff. Let me give you my initial opening thoughts on all this. And as I've always tried, let me try to do this in losses a little bit better. Let's give credit. And I think I already did that a little bit to Duke. Credit where credit is due. Duke is one of the best, if not, some would say the best program-wise in history and things of that nature. Kansas probably has something to say about that too, or maybe North Carolina. There's going to be a debate no matter what. Credit to them for taking down the mighty Auburn Tigers, number 2 team, number 1 and number 2 go down this evening. So it was a bit of a chaotic day in the college basketball world, but it just goes to show you that nobody is immune to losing, and we are in for a great college basketball season. Are you surprised that I'm so upbeat after this? If you are, I don't know why. This is the stuff that Auburn basketball fans used to dream of, to be in these games and be competitive and to have a legitimate shot to win these ones and actually look really good all the way through the season, not just a fluke thing as you're doing all these, having these great accomplishments. Anyway, so we'll start diving into it. Let's talk about the score. The score, obviously, 84-78. For me, if you look at this tonight, I always like to find you a stat that maybe at least kind of paints the picture a little bit for you tonight. I think it's going to be fast break points tonight. Auburn has 0-16 for Duke. Now, certainly you expect turnovers and fast break points to be in the favor of the home team, but not by that wide of margin. So that's going to be the stat that sticks out to me the most. Maybe that doesn't tell the tale, but it certainly sticks out to me the most. And the storyline tonight, I think actually it died off a little bit, but certainly the biggest storyline in the game to start off with was Evans. Isaiah Evans going 6 for 6 in the first half, 6 for 8 on the night, 18 points. He doesn't score in the second half, but he is the guy that got them out of their deficit and put Auburn into a position where they had to fight back, and nearly did. But that certainly would, for me, would be the storyline of the game. All right, we like to walk through stats, individual and team-wise. We can certainly do that. Let's see what some people are talking about. I know that you guys are upset with the refs. We're not going to dive into that too much tonight. Certainly, there was some questionable nature. What I will say this about refs in general this season, it does feel like they are being very proactive in some things. Now, I don't think it's just an Auburn thing. I don't think it's just a Duke thing. I think it's just a very proactive nature of reffing this year, which is a little bit annoying. Too much reviewing of things. Just let the boys play. But certainly we don't want to sit here and make that the reason that Auburn lost tonight. They could have taken care of some things on their end anyway. Devin puts it in perspective. We always knew we weren't going undefeated. I think we could have won the game, but I still think this team is the real deal. I certainly think that as well. I think Duke knows that too. Duke, I think, got a wake-up call tonight that Auburn just isn't blowing smoke when they start claiming themselves as one of the new blue bloods. Certainly that is the case now, being able to come into Cameron Indoor and put up a pretty dang good fight tonight. Definitely fun to watch, TJ says, but also hard to watch. Not our best game at all. We look dead, lack of energy. I think sometimes that lack of energy can get misinterpreted that your flow's just messed up, which I guess would affect your energy. But certainly, I think we all agree, not the best performance for the Tigers. Here's the thing that you need to take away from all of this, though. Auburn didn't have their best performance tonight, and they were playing in Cameron Indoor against a formidable Duke team. They're a top 10 team currently and will likely be even higher after beating us at number 2. With their not best game, could have been in a position really to beat Duke tonight if they had taken care of a few other things, and were in a position for some of the time tonight. So take that if you want as a little bit of a moral victory. I don't think it's a moral victory. I think it's just a fact. I think Auburn did not play its best game and still had a chance to win in Cameron Indoor. Let's see here. 15 extra free throws. Imagine that, Robert says. Well, let's take a look at that. Yes. You have 10 of 12 for Auburn from free throws and 17 from 27. Certainly that is going to help you out a ton. Personal fouls tonight, 14 for Duke, 20 for Auburn. So obviously that gets a little bit frustrating at times watching that, although we'll get to the percentages here in a little bit. Auburn does at least take advantage of its opportunities, few as they may be, to get some free throw points tonight. Let's see here. Duke is a good team and a good environment. Refs were on the opposing sideline like always. There we go. Good loss. Probably puts us at 5 and 6. Oh, ranking wise, I was like, no, we're 7-1. Now I'm with you. Stan, great point as well. Turnovers. Here's the crazy thing. If the announcers, unless they told me wrong, at the 3-minute mark in the first half, Auburn had 1 turnover. How weird is that now we're talking about Auburn with 8, Duke with 4. So we can blame refs all we want, but you look at numbers like that where your turnovers, you go from literally none to more than the other team. If you're at home and you're only having 4 turnovers, you're going to have a lot of success. So credit to Duke for taking care of the ball at home. Lots of people starting to check in with us. Devin thinks Flag is overrated. I was not impressed. Well, Devin, I will tell you this, by the stats and the stat lines, he's pretty impressive. Now, from what he's built up to be, and the obsession of people being 17 years old is just annoying these days. Certainly, I think you could probably make the case that maybe not, the legend isn't as big as people make it out to be, but certainly he and Janai tonight, a lot of eyes on that. I want to say matchup because I don't think they matched up a ton tonight, if at all. But certainly one guy is in the conversation and the other guy is in the conversation as well for player of the year. Tonight, Janai, 20 points on where did we go? They have this, I'm telling you what, this is a 12 rebounds. There we go. We finally got it. 12 rebounds. I'm just going to be honest with you guys tonight. This has been the weirdest the system that we use. Never mind, it's not even important. Anyway, Cooper Flag stat. 22 points, 11 rebounds. So very, very, very comparable. He has 4 assists. Janai has 3 assists tonight, 2 turnovers, the 1 turnover. Janai having 2 turnovers. So very comparable night. So I think if we get to the end of the year, both are still having great years. You kind of look at one and go, all right, well, technically his team won that matchup, but does that really mean that he's the better team? Loss like this helps the team to see where they are lacking. Certainly it does. When you get exposed, as Bruce said we would get during non-conference play, it exposes maybe open sores you didn't know that you have that you can now treat. What I will tell you this, as I've already said, I don't think that this team has any large open wounds or anything like that. I simply think they played a bad game, or how about this? A not so great game on the road. And it's just a little bit tougher to pull off what you pulled off versus Iowa State in Maui in Cameron Indoor. Because at least there it was supposed to be a neutral site and you had some benefit. You had the Cameron Crazies. They were all out. What an awesome sight to see Auburn there, just to be honest with you. All right, we'll keep taking a few comments here that we need to get to. some stats. We'll look at that. Might have to skip through a few here. That one guy from the first half couldn't miss. Yes. Evans. You might even make the case that if Evans doesn't get as hot as he does, Auburn's able to not only maintain its lead, but maybe even extend it a little bit. And then that gets pretty interesting, even for a great team like Duke at home. Auburn has shown its ability to, put its foot on the pedal and not let go of it. So, Duke tonight might be thanking their lucky stars that Evans got as hot as he did in the first half. Yeah, I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit here. We're getting a little bit behind the chat, but some great comments tonight. Boop, 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 boop. Yeah, wow, lots of comments tonight, guys. You guys are here in full force. Great to see you. Great to see you guys here tonight. Thanks for hanging out on this late night live stream. All right, I figured we were gonna get a comment like this, and so Tommy, I know that your concern is ultimately for the team. Let's be very careful about our guy Chad. Chad is certainly got a lot of energy, a lot of fire about him. Coach Bruce Pearl seems to like to have at least one of those guys on his team. I knew we were going to start getting some, commentary like this. You saw it online too. And I'm not saying this is absolutely incorrect. We always want to be careful about how we approach this thing because Chad does a lot of great things for this team. That's not an excuse for him to, not put himself in situations that he's a guy that you just kind of focus the energy on. When it gets unfocused, certainly it can be a little bit of a problem. But I think he is also learning and growing. And I think he's shown that a lot this year. So Chad, I don't think I won't go as far as you did to say that he'll cost us a game, but I certainly think that we'll find ourselves in some compromising situations from a lot of people. But certainly Chad has had that ability to find his way into those situations tonight. Drip Edit says Chad is an emotional guy and got to get some momentum somewhere, and he certainly provided that in some ways tonight. Latrell says great team effort, still number one on my list as they always are. And Devins points out that Chad was trying to help Chaney in the scrum. That ref was completely out of line, shoving him off. You got to know that these guys are prepped about who to look for, who's the hotheads, who's the energy guys, and to know so they're already kind of preconditioned to these things. I can see it from both angles. I see if I was Chad and from that angle, seeing that I might rush in to at least check on my teammate. I think he went a little bit too much with it. I think certainly the refs are a little bit sensitive to that in any regard. We talked a lot about just refs being involved in the game a little too much. No matter, we're not even talking about Auburn and Duke. We're just talking about basketball in general this year. Certainly, there's a case to be made. Either way there. All right, well, keep your comments coming. We'll take some more. Let's look at some stats tonight. Your leading scorer tonight is two guys, Janai Broom, and we need to give some props to Tahad Pettifer, both with 20 points tonight. Chad Baker-Mazzara at 17, 14 for Miles Kelly, and then we have a humongous drop-off from there, and I mean a humongous drop-off. So your next leading scorer is Chaney Johnson with 5, Chris Moore with 2, and everybody else goose eggs. Now, like Pegues doesn't score a lot of points. This is a normal, routine for us. We understand this. I mean, that's just not his role is something different. Denver tonight, 0 points. 0. So you got to wonder what happens if Denver Jones gets going just a little bit more. I mean, just maybe 6 points here or there at some very crucial situations to knock down 2 crucial threes. We're talking about, there's a lot of like ifs, this, then that types of scenarios that could have really tilted the game either way tonight. And a lot of it went in Duke's favor tonight. So that's the scoring tonight. I think I know it feels, bad to give player of the game, but if you had to give a player of the game to an Auburn person tonight, who is it? Like, who's your Auburn player who gets the shout out tonight? I think you got several cases for it. Janai is doing his normal thing, 8 for 18 from the field. His double-double again. By the way, if you want any comparisons between Cooper Flagg and Janai, I think this was only Cooper Flagg's 3rd double-double. And I know they're 2 different players, 2 different styles, but Janai is still getting double-doubles. So who's your player of the game tonight? What do you think? We got some names starting to roll in here, and I think I agree with you. We don't get a lot of opportunities to not definitively, but compared to what Janai is typically doing, giving Tahad Pettiford, the nod in this regard. Tahad Pettiford tonight, 20 points, 8 for 15 from the field, 4 for 5, 3-point arc, 1 rebound, 3 assists tonight, only 1 turnover for him in 18 minutes of play. Certainly, he gets a big shout out tonight, and he might be your best candidate for player of the game. I would like to point out that if you'd like to play the comparison game with other individuals who are no longer here, certainly he's having a much better and much more consistent start. I don't want us to turn into people that just be annoying like that, like Alabama fans do. You know who I'm talking about. But certainly we are seeing a little bit more consistency, which is really great to see. Okay. That's some individual stats. If there's any other individual performances that we should note, please do let me know, and we'll talk about a few of those here. I think somebody else gave a shout out here. Where was it? But what about Miles Kelly as well? He was hot all night. He had a little bit of a cold stretch, but most of the night, yes, he was hot. 14 points, 5 for 7 from the field, 4 for 5 from 3-point land. That was awesome. That was good. So great performance by him as well, not to be forgotten about in all of this. We can look at some team stats. Blake, my good friend, knows right to my heart and what I want to see here tonight. Let's talk about the big three. The big three stats that I always focus on every stream: free throws, turnovers, and rebounds. Tonight, Auburn's free throw percentage, I am pleased to report to you, is 83%. Is that like 4 games in a row at 80%? That's awesome. Now they only get 12 attempts, so they get 10 out of 12, but that's still impressive. Turnovers, not a ton for either team tonight, but Auburn ends up losing 8-4, so a decent margin there, especially in Cameron Indoor. And then on rebounds, 39-34. That's actually a flip-flop because Duke was leading that way for much of the game, so Auburn does get that in its favor. So even though Auburn wins 2 of those categories, they do get the loss tonight. So certainly there are other things that tell the story tonight, but at least those are the ones that I want to point out to you as the big 3 stats that I always pay attention to. We'll look at some more here in just a second. Chaney didn't have his game tonight. I think Chaney is going to have one of these every once in a while he's still kind of growing into his, I want to call it a new role, but just expanded role. But he's the only one outside of the big 4 tonight that scored in double digits that even got more than 2 points. So not a lot of disagreements there from me about not his best night, but certainly he at least did something tonight. Offensive rebounds. Let's look at the breakdown. Total rebounds is 39-34 tonight. Defensive rebounds, 24-22 in Auburn's favor. And offensive rebounds were in favor for Auburn, 15-12. So Auburn wins both of those categories. So not a bad night in Cameron Indoor. I'm going to say that a lot. There's a reason I keep bringing that up, because it's actually a big deal that Auburn had a off game, but still had a shot to win this thing. WT points out Duke's plan worked effectively after about the first 10 minutes of the game. They disrupted the AU offense almost every trip down the court. And that's what you do at home. You disrupt. You use that to your advantage. Your job as the visiting team is to weather the storm. Auburn, I think, at times did not weather it very, very well tonight, but they fought their way back into within 2 points several times. And I kind of got the feeling both times it was like 2 times at least, we saw that getting back to within 2 points. I was like, I just don't feel like we're going to be able to get over that hump, and it ended up being right. It just didn't feel like it was going to be our night tonight. But still, credit goes to Duke for taking advantage of their opportunities that they have at home. It certainly is a tough place to win. They outshot their normal percentages, Tim Wood says. Let's look at our percentages here. Field goal percentage for Auburn, 45%. Duke, 50%. 1 out of every 2 shots is going in tonight. That was definitely off that great start that some of them had in the first half. 3-point percentage tonight, Auburn, 40%. Duke, 41%. And we already talked about free throw percentage, 83-63. So Duke does not so well in that, even though they got a ton more opportunities. If Duke makes their free throws, this is not as close of a game as it was. So, I mean, you just look at some of these stats tonight. I do not see a ton to be upset about. What I talked about at the start of the show is maybe the stat to pay attention to, I think does tell the tale of the tape. 0 points in the fast break for Auburn, 16 for Duke. Can't have a really bigger deficit than 0 to whatever, So I think it's as simple as that tonight. Just taking a quick glance through to see if there's anything else that sticks out. Points in the paint are comparable, so are bench points. We talked about points off of turnovers, but that naturally comes with sometimes fast breaks and things and turnovers. So that kind of matches up right there. Times tied tonight was only that one time. Lead changes 3, and the lead time was very much in their favor. So a lot of things were fair across the board stat wide. At least they were even, or more so even than not. So I think what you just saw yet again, folks, is 2 tournament teams going at it, and the winner is usually going to be who's at home. So I think we could make a very compelling case that if Auburn plays this game in Neville, Duke probably has the same story and probably doesn't have the success that they have here. Let's see here. What was? I'm not sure what that is, WT. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Tommy says, I'll take this record with the teams that we have played so far. 7-1, where you have 2 of those wins are top 5 wins, both of them. And you had a good shot at getting a top 10 win tonight on the road. Yeah, nothing to be really too upset about tonight. Okay. Other stats, storylines, comments, topics that we haven't hit tonight, especially, put those in the chat. We'll round out our show with them. Certainly want to spend as much time as you guys want to diving into this game. Let me just say this before I give you the rundown like I normally do towards the end of the show. I cannot stress this enough, folks. So many of you guys I heard during the preseason leading up to this were so afraid of the schedule. And when I say afraid, I know that's a little hyperbolic. I know you weren't like shaking in your boots or anything, but there was just a lot of the language that was used around. I'm so worried about it. I'm like, enjoy this. This is the level of heights that this program has been brought to under Bruce Pearl. The fact that they go into Cameron Indoor, my favorite phrase tonight, and have a off game and are still in a shot to win is incredible. The fact that they've won the Maui Invitational, the fact that they're playing still some incredible neutral site games, especially in the rest of their non-conference play, is a testament. Enjoy this. Don't worry about if the record doesn't reflect it at the end of non-conference how you wanted it to. Enjoy the heck out of this, because I have looked forward to this matchup. Here's the sad thing. I hyped up the Maui Invitational, the Duke matchup, and now they're over with. What else is there? There's plenty more great basketball to play. Let's see here. Any other let me do the rundown and we'll take some comments and questions here. Rundown for you about what's coming up next. Got one thing I can bring up on the screen for you. We are going to have another post-game stream for Richmond. Obviously, we hope that's going to be a win at home. So hopefully we'll be breaking that down in a win fashion on Sunday early afternoon, actually early afternoon, whatever it is, and we'll do a post-game show, and then we'll have our Sunday night 9 Eastern time live recording of the Auburn Experience podcast, episode 105. So join us there. Plenty of other content throughout the week. If you missed our recruit signing day discussion and reaction show, go check that out. We had a good crowd there and a lot of good discussion there. I mean, I'm really excited about that class, so go check all that out if you're interested in that content too. All right, let's take some other comments and questions here. Michael says, how many SEC teams have gone into Cameron Indoor Stadium and won? I cannot think of any in the last 5 years or so. Now, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that Alabama has played Duke this year, and I believe they won, but it may have been at their place. I could be wrong. I think I probably am wrong on that. Let me just double check here, because I remember thinking, wow, we've got some shared games this year. Like, they've played Memphis and beat them. So did we. Looking through here, they lost to Purdue, so another comparison opportunity. They beat Houston like we did. They just beat North Carolina like we did, so they did not play Duke. So I got that mixed up somewhere. But the point still stands that not a lot of people have success in Cameron Indoor. and Auburn at least had a shot at it. TJ says, CBM's comment about Janai being the best in the country definitely shows he's a team player. Love him regardless of the heat of the moment. Spurs. I think that's the important thing to remind yourself about Chad Baker Mazzara. This isn't a guy that is a selfish player that is all about himself. He loses himself in his own energy and in moments and does some things that are a little bit questionable. But when he's out, he's a very similar thing to KD Johnson. And frankly, I'm going to say this with all the love towards KD too. I think he is further along in his maturity and growth than KD was in his time here. And I love KD Johnson. His last year at Auburn, I think, was his best year with less stats. But I think it's always important when you get frustrated with Chad, let the coaches handle it and just think about the whole picture, not just the moment of when he frustrated. I even said, now come on, Chad, when he did that thing. So, I mean, we're all going to say that from time to time. Let's see here. A lot of people still noting how tough this is. Certainly. Spiders are next, and that's a tough game. I haven't looked at Richmond yet, but certainly I know Bruce schedules a very tough schedule regardless of who the opponent is. WT says too many basketball fans are still living in the years where we were lucky to beat Appaloosa State. Didn't know that there was a team. We are a premium team now and need this kind of preseason schedule. I think you mean early season schedule, but maybe even preseason SEC schedule. Everybody's laughing at your Appaloosa thing too. Still looking forward to Ohio State, Purdue. Still plenty of more opportunities to show that this is not a fluke, or our start wasn't a fluke, and to put ourselves back into position as prominence here in the college basketball landscape. A couple other things here. So many comments tonight. You guys are awesome. The fact that y'all are up this late with me is a testament to you guys. So thank you so much for being here. Let's see here. The only team that consistently wins at Cameron Indoor is UNC. And for some reason, the whistle is not as strong in that game. Devin is on these refs tonight. Anything else? Tony Barbie lost to UNC Asheville at home for the first time. How far we've come since then. Now, let me say this. Most of y'all that have been here for a while know that I'm very I was called stringent the other day on a TikTok stream about how we criticize and how we critique our players and our coaches, and even former ones as well, because I consider them still to be part of the Auburn family. Unless you're certain individuals. Now, I will say this. I do not want you guys being ugly people to Tony Barbie. But as a basketball coach, he lost all my respect when he blamed the lack of success under his tenure on Under Armour. That was the day I said, I'm out. Can't even support you anymore, just because that's just such a loser mentality. And I think that's carried on since then. So we'll just leave it at that. If we can stay up for the Maui games, we can stay up for this one. That is a fair point. But regardless of that, I appreciate you guys staying up with me tonight. All right. Love you guys. Good stream, regardless of the loss. Lots of good energy out there still. And I think you guys all, like me, walk away from this one certainly disappointed, certainly frustrated in some small, minute areas. But you look at this team in a 78-84 win. You are not super disappointed in this. Certainly plenty more games left to play. There it is, the score, 78-84. The big stat that we focused on was the fast break point, 0-16 in Duke's favor. And that story was their incredible freshman, I think he was a freshman phenom of Evans, going 6 for 6 in the first. Has to really set them up for success for Duke. They get the win. We're not able to crack that, I think they call it a glass ceiling, against Duke quite yet. We will get there in due time, folks. Thanks for hanging out, being part of our little family within the Auburn family. Until I talk to you again, War Eagle.